Good morning, everybody. This is a response to Jane from a question on one of my last videos about how I became homeless, why I am now. This is going to be a series of videos. It's a long, complicated story. But how I first became homeless is not. I grew up in a good family in Indiana. Good family from top to bottom. I really was lucky. My family isn't perfect. Nobody's is, but I had a good family. Um, my parents were good parents for the most part. They've made mistakes, but I was a pretty lucky kid growing up. I got to play all the sports I wanted. I played musical instruments. I went to all sorts of camps, did gifted programs through Northwestern. I read the newspaper every day starting as a small child. I listened to the BBC every night. I fell asleep every night. When I was a small child, when a lot of kids were still trying to read simple kids' books, I was reading large adult books and falling asleep crying to what was going on in the former Yugoslavia. I cried myself to sleep every night for years as a small child. My growing up, we went from lower middle class when I was young to upper middle class by the time I was a teenager, as my dad progressed through the business world and did all that. And I didn't want it. I was raised to be kind of like my dad, I guess, to run a business. He worked a lot. He worked really hard. He was exhausted. He was stressed out a lot. He worked 50 weeks a year, spent 2 weeks a year on vacation in Florida, lying on a beach. And I wanted more. I wanted different things. I understand where he came from. He was trying to be a good father and a good husband. He did things right. And on a long-term view, he probably had the right answer. And it looks like maybe I made the wrong one. But as a young kid who saw lots and lots of horrible things going on in the world, I wanted to make it better. I didn't really care about having an 8,000 square foot house and hardwood floors and crown molding. I wanted to save the world. I wanted the wars to end. I wanted the hunger to end. And I figured getting a 9-to-5 job and working my tail to the bone wasn't the way to do it. And I wanted to see America. I grew up in the Midwest. I went on vacation once a year to Florida. I did do a little bit of traveling when I was younger with my family, and I got to go to England a couple of times as a young kid. But I didn't know anything about America. Not what I read in the papers, about the extent of it. And I wanted to go to Appalachia. I wanted to go to California and go to the Rocky Mountains and go all these places. I got kicked out of my house because I wouldn't stop smoking marijuana, and was living in an apartment with a friend's girlfriend, sharing an apartment. Worked at a restaurant for a long time. I quit or got fired after a year or something, and I'm sitting in this apartment reading Be Here Now by Ram Dass. And all of a sudden, it just clicked. It's time to go. Oh, no, you know what it was? It was a Celestine Prophecy. I read the Celestine Prophecy. I read all but the last chapter. Just decided it's time for me to leave. It's time for me to start traveling. So a few months after my 18th birthday. And my roommate had a party, and I'd met one of her friends from high school who was going to college in Colorado. And so I called her up 10, 11 o'clock at night and asked her when she was going back to college. And she said tomorrow morning, like 6 a.m. And I asked her if she'd take me with her. She said, sure. My mom's coming. She went out that night, bought a bike rack for my mountain bike. And I got a ride to Fort Collins, Colorado. Hung out with her for a week or two until her roommate got tired of me. And I sold my mountain bike, bought a backpack at REI, and a bus ticket to LA. And the adventures began from there. Wasn't too long before I was in San Francisco. And it just became adventure after adventure from there. And I had a lot of adventures. I had a lot of fun. I wasn't homeless. I was Bilbo Baggins with a backpack going on an adventure. People to meet, concerts to go to. All just everything was so new and fun and adventurous and being young, and I wasn't a model, but I wasn't I above average looks maybe, and so people wanted me. I was fun, young, happy, fun to be around. People wanted me at their club. People wanted me at their party. People wanted me in their adventure. I could stick my thumb out and go anywhere in the country. I could hitchhike from LA to Maine in 3 days. 2 days from Fort Benning, Georgia. 1 day to downtown Seattle. Took 36, 48 hours, something like that, to hitchhike. I could go where I wanted, when I wanted, where the weather was nice, where the fun was, where the protest was. And I did it. And it was awesome. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of amazing adventures along the way. And it was a different time. People didn't look at traveling kids as homeless. We were adventurers. For the most part. And I never thought of myself as homeless, ever. There came a time when I went back into having a house and a girlfriend and a job, and all that came. I'll tell that story maybe next. When that ended, well, I'll have to add that to that story. But that was the start of my adventures. The first 10 years of traveling was just one big adventure, one big mix of fun and doing activism. I did a lot of it. Trying to save the world and dance, You can sell my revolution if I can't dance. It's an old quote. And I thought I was out saving the world and enjoying life and having a good time and learning all about everything. Been in 48 states, hitchhiked over 300,000 miles. Been in a lot of corners of the country that a lot of people haven't been. And it was quite the adventure. And so becoming homeless isn't necessarily, you might not think you're actually homeless. You might not be, really. I really wasn't. I had homes everywhere. But I didn't want to stay there. There was adventures to be had. things to do, people to meet, mountains to climb. So that's how I became homeless. Trying to save the world and have a good time along the way. Thanks for your question, and I'll have more coming.